From the dialogue in chapter 576, it seems that the figure that Gall D. Roger is waiting for is not Marshall D. Teach aka Blackbeard. Why isn't Blackbeard the person Roger was waiting for in One Piece? This is my theory, but before we start this video, please smash that like button. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and click notification bell, or you will miss future anime videos. From the dialogue in chapter 576, it seems that the figure that Gall D. Roger is waiting for is not Marshall D. Teach aka Blackbeard. Why isn't Blackbeard the person Roger was waiting for in One Piece? This is my theory. In chapter 576, Whitebeard said that Teach was not the person Roger was waiting for. The situation before Whitebeard said that was, he had time to strike back at Teach until Teach panicked. Then Teach ordered his men to attack Whitebeard. Some attacked with firearms. As Whitebeard received those attacks, he reminisced about his conversation with Roger. Whitebeard told Roger that he occasionally met people with the name D. He then asked what the name D meant, and Roger explained it. Although unfortunately the explanation has not been fully disclosed to readers. Only then did Whitebeard say Teach was not the person Roger was waiting for. Exactly who is the person Roger is waiting for? If we look at the events in chapter 968, it seems that Roger's group was too fast to laugh tail. Earlier, Roger and Oden heard the voice of the Sea King. The voices they hear are described in chapter 968. Sea Kings talk that their kings are about to be born. Something will come from the sea far away. The Sea Kings were sure that the popes would be happy when the two kings met again. The Sea Kings also gave an illustration. Though it takes 10 years for them to be born, and 15 years for them to grow strong, so the awaited rulers had not yet been born at that time. Then we are also shown Roger's dialogue with Shirley about when Poseidon will be born, which is 10 years later. Remembering those things made Roger feel like someone would surpass his group. Roger was sure that his son would find One Piece, but unfortunately that didn't happen. What is clear, the figure Roger is waiting for is probably the person he heard this prophecy about. It could be that one is Poseidon and one the ruler of the distant seas. There are indications that what Roger is basically waiting for is a new Joy Boy. In chapter 968, Oden says there is a reason Wano closed the border, but the Wano border will open again the day Joy Boy appears. Then in chapter 972, when Oden had been boiled for a long time, he conveyed to the Red Scabbards. Back then, it was the Kazuki clan that cut off Wano from the outside world. It was to protect Wano from the great power. Wano and the world, said Oden, are waiting for a certain person. When that person appears, Oden wants Wano to be a country that supports that person. Oden, who realized he was going to die, then asked the Red Scabbards who opened the Wano border. Oden also had time to give a message to Toki. About 20 years later, there will be a great war, and the protagonist of that war will appear. It was the protagonist who would defeat Kaido. This situation made me feel that basically the person Roger and Oden was waiting for was the new Joy Boy, the character whose personality may be the same as the original Joy Boy, a person whose legacy made Roger and his group laugh and laugh tail. So, why wasn't Blackbeard the person Roger was waiting for? Whitebeard had been told by Roger about the history of the name D. He might as well have known the characteristics of the person Roger was waiting for in their last dialogue. Before Whitebeard said Teach was not the person Roger was waiting for, Teach panicked when Whitebeard was attacked, whereas the owner of the name D usually does not show fear even in the face of death. Whitebeard may have noticed that even though Teach had the name D in the middle, Marshall D. Teach, his character was not what Roger had described. Another factor, Blackbeard is most likely not Joy Boy. He didn't live up to the predictions of the Sea Kings. The prophecy of the Sea Kings that Oden and Roger heard said that the rulers had not even been born then. Meanwhile, Teach had joined Whitebeard's group since before Oden and Roger heard the prophecy. Therefore, figures like Whitebeard, Rayleigh, Teach, Shanks, and Buggy, who were born before the predictions of the Sea Kings, also don't seem to be the figures that Roger has been waiting for. Was this what made Shanks cry when Roger returned from Laugh Tale? So that's my theory about why Blackbeard isn't the person Roger was waiting for in One Piece. What do you think? Submit your comments below.